You ever realize how loud silence can be? Huh. Not the kind of silence that fills a quiet room. No, not that. I'm talking about the kind that shows up when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop begging, when you stop giving second chances to people who threw your heart on the floor like a cigarette butt. That silence is louder than any scream. It echoes and it hurts, but not you, not anymore. It kills them, quietly. See, kid, the mistake most people make? They think vengeance is loud. Explosions, words, fists, drama. But that ain't it. That's weak people showing off because they still care. You want to really hurt someone who broke you? You don't argue. You don't cry. You don't threaten. You disappear. You go silent. You go ghost. That's the punishment they never saw coming. 'Cause when you stop talking, they start hearing everything they did on repeat in their own damn minds. Let me tell you a story. You ever seen a wolf leave the pack? Not barking, not howling, just vanishing? They think he's gone, broken, weak. But he comes back with scars, eyes colder than ice, and no mercy in his chest. That's what you're gonna become. Not a monster, not a villain, just someone who learned how to shut up and watch as karma takes the wheel. 'Cause the people who wronged you, they don't fear your anger. They fear your absence. Your silence is a reminder they ain't worth a word from your lips. You want to know why this works? I'll break it down for you, real slow. People are addicted to control. They want to know they still got a piece of you, that you still care, that they still matter. So every time you answer, even with rage, they feel alive. But when you stop responding, when you stop reacting, that's when they panic. That's when it hits them. You took your power back without a sound. Let me paint it darker for you. Imagine this. Someone betrayed you, lied, cheated, humiliated you. They expected you to fight, to scream, to break, but you didn't. You just vanished. No closure, no explanation. Now, they sit there, scrolling your old messages, stalking your socials, wondering if you hate them, if you still care, if you moved on. It's a prison, a psychological one. You didn't lift a finger, but you buried them, deep. People don't understand the art of silence. It's not about cowardice. It's about mastery. You gotta reach a point where your peace is louder than any revenge, where your calm is more terrifying than your chaos. That's when you win, not by getting even, but by getting unreachable. Let me tell you something else. And listen close. This is important. You don't owe anyone a response. Not the people who left when you needed them. Not the ones who broke your trust. Not the ones who only come around when they're bored. Nah. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself growth. And sometimes that means cutting the damn cord, even if your hands are bleeding. You know why most people can't walk away? 'Cause they're scared of being alone. But let me ask you, weren't you already alone when they ignored you? When they lied to you? When they made you feel like a burden? So what exactly are you scared of losing? Something that never existed in the first place. Silence ain't empty. It's full of answers. And if you shut up long enough, you'll hear the truth in that quiet. You'll hear your worth echo back at you. You'll feel the weight lift off your chest. No more explaining your heart to people who treat it like a doormat. You know what silence teaches you? Control. The kind of control you never had when you were explaining yourself to people who already made up their minds. The kind you lost every time you begged someone to understand you when they never intended to listen. Silence teaches you to stop reaching, to stop offering, to stop handing out pieces of your soul to people who came only to take. And once you master it, oh, kid, it's game over. 'Cause people don't know what to do with silence. They can't argue with it, can't manipulate it, can't twist it, can't use it against you. They're left alone with themselves. And trust me, that's a punishment far worse than your words could ever be. You gotta stop thinking closure is a conversation. That's a scam they sold you to keep you tied to pain. You want real closure? Walk away. Quietly, proudly. Don't send that text. Don't answer that call. Let them wonder. Let them rot in the silence they built for themselves. Because you don't owe them peace after they handed you war. You don't owe them softness after they handled you like you were disposable. You owe them nothing. You don't go back for explanations, not when they had every chance to understand you when you were still there, still loyal, still trying. If they didn't care when you were crying, they sure as hell don't deserve your words now that you're stronger. People love to test you. They'll stab you, then act confused when you bleed. They'll burn you, then blame you for smelling like smoke. But you know what really kills them? When you don't respond. When you don't validate their games with your attention. When you just vanish. You ghost like you never existed, but every day your silence screams in their ears. They hear it in every quiet night, every dull moment, every little shadow of guilt that creeps in. They feel it when they realize your love was real, and now it's gone. They remember every moment they took you for granted, and now it's a memory they can't escape. Here's some truth wrapped in razor wire. Most people only apologize when their comfort gets disturbed, not because they regret hurting you. You'll know this when you finally stop talking. That's when the fake "I miss you" messages come in. That's when they try to bait you with fake love, nostalgia, little traps to reel you back into their mess. But you ain't a fool anymore. You've seen the trick. You've lived the betrayal. You know what it feels like to bleed in silence while they sleep peacefully. So don't fall for it. Don't answer. You survived the worst of it alone. Now walk like it. Walk like someone who buried their past and never marked the grave. Let me throw something darker at you. Sometimes they'll come back not because they love you, but because they hate losing control over you. And if you answer, if you give them even a crumb of attention, you're feeding the beast that tried to destroy you. That's why silence ain't just revenge, it's survival. It's you reclaiming your throne without a word. It's you saying, I don't need to prove anything. My peace says enough. And you walk on. No noise, no drama, just strength in your silence. That's power they can never steal again. You ever seen a candle go out? No explosion, no firework, just silence and darkness. That's what you need to become. Something that disappears without a sound and leaves behind a cold void they can't ignore. That's the kind of damage that don't heal easy. That's the scar that stays, 'cause there was no goodbye, no final word, no closure, just absence. And in that absence, they crumble. You don't need to fight. You don't need to argue. You don't need to scream. You just walk. And when they finally realize what they lost, it's too damn late. That's your justice. Quiet, cold, final. And let me say this loud to your soul. You are not weak for being kind. You are not a fool for loving hard. You are not soft for giving people chances they didn't deserve. That's your strength, your real strength. But now it's time to use that strength for yourself, to heal in silence, to grow in the dark, to become so cold, so untouchable, that the next time someone tries to play you, they find nothing but silence and shadow. No more explanations, no more access. You become the ghost of your old self, reborn with scars, with silence, with peace they can never steal again. You ever realize how people only value you when you're no longer accessible? That's the sick part. When you're available, loyal, present, they ignore you. Your background noise, your convenience, you're something they assume will always be there. But the moment you go silent, vanish without a goodbye, now suddenly you're the only thing on their mind. It's pathetic, really. People don't mourn the person. They mourn the loss of control. They're not hurt because they miss you. They're hurt because they can't reach you. They can't use you. They can't drain your energy anymore. And that silence, it becomes a mirror that shows them exactly who they are. A user, a manipulator, a liar, a coward. And trust me, that reflection burns them more than anything you could ever say. They'll try to guilt trip you, make you feel bad for walking away, for going silent, for cutting the rope they wrapped around your neck. But don't fall for it. You gave them chances. You gave them truth. You gave them the kind of loyalty people pray for. And what did they do with it? They crushed it, smiled while you broke, laughed while you tried to hold everything together. So now it's your turn. But your revenge ain't loud. Your revenge ain't chaos. Your revenge is the echoing silence that follows after real love leaves, after a real one goes ghost. You want to kill him? Kill him with growth. Kill him with distance. Kill him with the sound of your success. Lived quietly, lived fully, lived without them. The truth is, people expect you to fall apart when they leave. They expect you to chase, to beg, to break. But when you don't, when you just get up, wipe your tears, and walk away without a single word, that's the move they can't recover from. That's what shatters them. Because now they gotta face a new version of you. One that ain't chained to their approval. One that ain't stuck in the cycle. One that don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. And that version of you? That's the most dangerous one. You see, I've learned something about this world, kid. Pain changes people, yeah. But silence evolves them. Silence is the cocoon where the broken version of you dies, and the savage, focused, cold version is born. You don't need noise to rise. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You need to disappear for a while, rebuild in secret. Let them think you fell off. Let them think you gave up. And then one day, boom, you reappear. Leveled up. Unstoppable. Unfazed. That's how you hurt people without lifting a hand. That's how you destroy them without speaking a word. Let me drop this in your mind and leave it there. Silence exposes everything. When you stop talking, you start seeing. You see who really cared, who really checked in, who really missed you. Most of them, they won't. They'll move on like you were nothing. And that's not a tragedy. It's a gift. Because now you know who never deserved access to your soul in the first place. Silence filters your circle. It reveals snakes. It clears out the parasites who only came around when they needed something. And in that loneliness, in that quiet, you find your real power. Solitude. Not isolation. Solitude. The kind where you're alone, but not empty. Alone, but at peace. Alone, but free. And you gotta be real with yourself. Stop waiting for people to understand your worth. If they didn't see it when you were at your lowest, when you were trying your hardest, when you were loyal to the bone, then they don't deserve to witness your glow up. You don't invite people to the table after they laughed at you when you were starving. You don't bring them back into your life just because they regret it now. Let regret eat them alive. Let the silence torment them. You don't gotta teach them a lesson. The silence already is. Every unanswered message. Every time they see you and realize you're really done. That's the lecture. That's the punishment. That's the revenge. They say silence is golden. Nah, it's lethal. It's the weapon of the strong. You ain't weak for walking away. You're not cold for going quiet. You're just done explaining pain to people who only heard your voice, but never listened to your soul. So, shut up. Shut it all down. Go build. Go heal. Go rise. And when they finally look back, they won't find your footprints. Just empty space, just silence. And that, my friend, will be the sound of their own self-destruction. You want to know what breaks a person faster than pain? Regret. But not the kind they show. No. The kind they hide. The kind they pretend ain't there while scrolling through your old pictures at 2 a.m., wondering why the hell you never came back. That's the thing about silence. It turns the tables without saying a word. One day, you're the fool for loving too hard. The next, they're the fool for letting go of something that would have died for them. But it's too late. The version of you that tolerated their disrespect, gone. The one that forgave too much, buried. The one that kept explaining yourself, dead. And in its place, a quiet storm, a calm, lethal force that don't owe explanations to anyone ever again. You think they forgot you? Huh, not even close. You haunt them in every quiet moment, every time they see someone who almost looks like you, every time someone loves them with half your intensity and still walks away faster than you ever did. They don't miss you. They miss how you made them feel. They miss the comfort, the safety, the loyalty. But the joke's on them now. 'Cause you ain't coming back, and your silence, it's a funeral. A burial of all the chances they wasted. No flowers, no prayers, just a deep grave, and the sound of their own guilt filling it in. You want to know what silence also does? It gives you back your energy, your focus, your self-respect. You stop answering to people who never respected you. You stop explaining yourself to people who already made you out to be the villain in their story. You start building in the dark, not for revenge, not for flexing, but for your own damn peace. That's when the game changes. When you no longer live to prove anything to anyone. You ain't trying to be seen. You're trying to evolve. Quietly, brutally, fully. And when you come out of that cave, you won't even recognize yourself anymore. Stronger, smarter, colder, cleaner, untouchable. You know what hurts people the most? Not when you scream, not when you curse them out, not when you explode. Nah, what hurts them most is when you just stop. Stop trying, stop calling, stop explaining, stop showing up. You just stop, like they never existed, like they never mattered, and you don't even hate them. You're just done. That's the kind of wound that never heals, because people can live with anger. They can deal with hate. But indifference? That's death. That's the true burial. When you become someone they used to know, a memory they can't touch, a story they tell themselves to sleep better. But no matter how hard they spin it in their heads, the silence keeps reminding them who they really were and what they really lost. So you kill them quietly. You let silence do the bleeding. Let time do the talking. You disappear so hard that your name becomes sacred, unspoken, feared, and the next time they hear about you, it ain't gonna be through your voice. It'll be through the echoes of everything you became while they weren't watching. You don't get even, you get better. So much better that your name alone makes them flinch. And when people ask why you never said anything, you'll smile, cold and calm, and say, I didn't have to. That's what they don't understand. Not every storm makes noise. Some destroy in silence. And you're that kind of storm now. The kind that don't announce itself. The kind that doesn't beg for attention. You just show up, changed, hardened, quiet. And everything around you feels that difference. You don't chase. You don't explain. You exist, and that's enough. You stop trying to make people see your worth and start showing it by how little you need them. And maybe the hardest part of all is realizing that the people you cried for, prayed for, fought for, they never deserved you. But that's not your curse. That's their punishment. And your silence, that's a sentence. You ain't bitter. You're just done. Done waiting, done explaining, done bleeding. And now you build, alone, focused, dangerous, not to destroy, but to never be destroyed again. You ever sit in a room full of people and feel more alone than when you're by yourself? That kind of loneliness don't come from the absence of company. It comes from the absence of connection. You were surrounded, but unheard. You spoke, but no one listened. You loved, but nobody felt it. And that breaks something inside of you. But what they didn't realize is that the breaking wasn't the end. It was the transformation. Because once you hit that depth, that silence inside of you, you start to change. You stop expecting, stop asking, stop hoping, and that silence, that hollow place, becomes the breeding ground of something far more powerful than pain. Indifference. And indifference. That's the death of your weakness. Let me put it this way. When someone betrays you, disrespects you, uses you, they expect a reaction. They're used to people screaming, crying, chasing. That's the pattern. That's the script. But when you go silent, when you cut off access, you flip the whole narrative. Now they're left with themselves. Now they're the ones wondering, hurting, overthinking. And you're gone. Not physically, you're still breathing, still moving. But they can't reach you. You're untouchable now. Because silence isn't just a lack of sound. It's a declaration, a statement. It says, you're not worth my voice anymore. It's funny, really. The same people who called you too emotional, too much, too intense, they're the ones who'll fall apart the second you stop caring. The same people who laughed at your loyalty, they'll cry for it once it's gone, but they won't show it. Oh no, they'll wear masks, play tough, post fake smiles. But behind that screen, behind that smile, there's a war they're losing every day. A war with the silence you left behind. A war with the realization that they had something pure, something real, and they ruined it. All for what? Ego? Pride? Games? And now they sit in the ruins they built with their own hands. You gave them chances. Too many, actually. You excused the red flags, forgave the late replies, overlooked the disrespect, thought loyalty would win them over, thought consistency would fix broken people. But here's the harsh truth, kid. Loyalty means nothing to someone who's loyal only to their needs. And now you know. You ain't bitter. You're just smarter. You don't hate them. You outgrew them. And your silence, that's the final lesson. That's the diploma. That's the degree in survival they'll never understand. They'll try to spin the story, paint you as cold, heartless, distant. Let them. People fear what they can't control. And silence, that's the one thing no one can manipulate. There's no argument to twist, no tone to misinterpret, no weakness to exploit. You leave no fingerprints when you vanish in silence. And that's what makes it deadly. You could have destroyed them with words. You could have humiliated them with truth. But you didn't. You chose silence. You chose class. You chose power. Because you knew they weren't worth the energy. And in that moment, you won. Let me give you a little visual. Imagine them sitting in a room, phone in hand, scrolling up through old messages, looking for a sign that you still care, waiting for a reply that'll never come, rereading old memories like they're sacred scriptures. And what do they get? Nothing. No message. No call. No closure. Just silence. That's the ghost they live with now. You don't haunt people by showing up. You haunt them by never coming back. And every time they try to distract themselves, the silence follows. Every song, every place, every face that reminds them of you. It's a stab. Not because you're gone, but because they know. They pushed you away, and you never look back. You're not the villain. You were the lesson. The one that arrived with light and left with darkness. And they'll carry that silence with them like a curse. The weight of what they could have had. What they did have and what they threw away. And they'll never admit it, but they'll feel it in every failed bond that follows, in every shallow connection, in every time they try to replace you but come up short, because you weren't just another name. You were the one who would have stayed through anything until they gave you nothing left to stay for. Let me tell you a secret. You were never the problem. You just had a heart they didn't know how to hold. You had a loyalty they never learned how to return. You brought a light into their darkness, and instead of protecting it, they mocked it. took it for granted, used it to warm themselves while leaving you cold. But the thing about light, once it's gone, the darkness feels 10 times heavier. And when you finally stop showing up, when you finally go silent, that's when they feel the full weight of what they've done. That's when the walls close in. Because you weren't just someone, you were the one. The one who stayed when everyone else walked. The one who believed when no one else did. The one who picked up the pieces after they shattered everything. And now they're left with silence. And it screams. They thought you'd wait forever. They thought no matter how they treated you, you'd always come back. They mistook your patience for weakness, your kindness for desperation, your forgiveness for stupidity. But you were none of that. You were just real. In a world full of fakes, you gave them something genuine, and they spit on it. So you left. No words, no warning, just silence. And that's what burns them now. Not your anger, not your revenge, but your absence. The fact that they don't even deserve your words anymore. You know what silence gives you? Time. Time to heal. Time to rebuild. Time to sit with your pain and turn it into power. While they're out there pretending nothing happened, laughing loud to hide the cracks. You're evolving. Every day in silence is a day closer to your rebirth. A day closer to a version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't chase. A version that walks into rooms with quiet confidence, knowing you survived what should have killed you. That's the scariest version. The one that looks calm, but carries storms in his soul. The one that doesn't raise his voice, because his silence is louder than any scream. They'll try to come back. Trust that. Not because they've changed, not because they finally understand, but because they can't believe they lost their grip on you. And when they do, you won't even need to say no. Your silence will speak for you. Your absence will be the answer. They'll knock on a door that no longer exists. Search for a version of you that died the moment you realized they never deserved you. And the cruelest part? You won't even feel anger, just indifference. That numb, cold clarity that whispers, I survived you. You don't get to come back. That's the real revenge. Not glowing up, not flexing, not showing them what they missed. The real revenge is moving on in complete silence. It's no longer caring whether they see you win or not. It's not needing them to know you're doing better. It's doing better for you. Because you're finally done living for people who made you question your worth. You're finally done performing for an audience that never clapped. And when they hear your name, it'll sting. Not because of hate, but because of memory, because of loss, because of everything they threw away while you were still fighting to be enough. And don't you ever blame yourself again. Don't you dare carry their guilt on your back. You gave them love, gave them loyalty, gave them every damn chance. You weren't perfect, but you were present. And that's more than most people can say. They'll twist it. Say you changed. Say you became cold. Nah. You just stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't give you a Band-Aid. You just stopped breaking your back for people who wouldn't even bend. That ain't bitterness. That's growth. That's clarity. That's freedom. So let the silence do its work. Let it echo. Let it sting. Let it build you. You don't need to be loud to make noise. You don't need to yell to be heard. Your absence will scream every truth they ignored. Your silence will be the mirror they can't avoid. And by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be long gone, unreachable, unbothered, unavailable. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to never go back. Some people don't deserve closure. They don't deserve to know how bad they hurt you. They don't deserve to be warned when you're about to walk away. You just vanish. You don't give them the chance to defend themselves with lies. You don't hand them another opportunity to manipulate the truth. You don't sit there and cry in front of someone who already stepped over your heart like it was trash. You just disappear like smoke. And the silence you leave behind, it's the eulogy, it's the funeral, it's the final goodbye you never had to say. Because here's the thing, they knew what they were doing. Don't ever fool yourself into thinking they didn't. They knew when they ignored your messages. They knew when they lied to your face. They knew when they made you feel like you were too much, like your emotions were a burden. They just didn't think you'd leave. They thought you'd always stay, no matter how bad it got. But now they know what real loss feels like. And it ain't loud. It's not fireworks or explosions, it's quiet, cold, empty, just like the space you left behind. You're not broken, you're just done. Done trying to convince people to care. Done trying to explain yourself to deaf ears. Done handing out your loyalty like candy to people with rotting teeth. Now you walk alone. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. And in that silence, in that solitude, you find yourself again. Not the old version, not the broken one, but the version that rose from the ashes. The version that ain't afraid to cut off everything that costs peace. The version that don't look back. They'll talk. Of course they will. They'll say you switched up. Say you changed. Say you became cold. But you ain't cold. You're cured. Cured from the disease of people-pleasing. Cured from the addiction of toxic love. Cured from the sickness of giving everything to people who gave nothing in return. And your silence, that's the medicine. That's the reset button. That's the quiet revolution that saved your soul. Let them choke on the silence. Let them drown in the stillness. Let them feel the weight of your absence in every breath they take. Because you've already moved on. You've already evolved. You're already becoming everything they said you couldn't be. And you did it without a word, without drama, without revenge, just silence. Sweet, sharp, surgical silence. So next time they come knocking, let 'em knock, let 'em wonder, let 'em suffer in the prison they built out of your silence. And you keep walking, head high, eyes forward, no guilt, no regret, no noise, just that deadly calm. The kind that only comes after surviving the storm and realizing the real power was never in your voice. It was in your silence.